This season, we're not chasing headlines, we're cashing them in.
VA benefits, interest rates, and AI for small business. What matters, what doesn't, and exactly what to do before the year ends.
Real answers and step-by-step plays.
Prepare to Compete Season 6 starts now.
Hello and welcome to Prepare to Compete, where we talk all things VA benefits, real estate, entrepreneurship, and more. Kenneth Davis, how you feeling today, my brother?
Excited. I must tell you, this is going to be an interesting one because there's been so many things drumming up with the veterans and just business in general. Really excited about it.
Absolutely. We are in the fourth quarter of 2025. A lot of changes happening. And even with us, right? As you may or may not notice, I did not say the word podcast in the introduction there. We're trying to span outside of just being perceived as a podcast. Although if you are listening on Apple Music, Spotify, or similar, you are listening to the podcast audio experience. But what we do on YouTube is we educate, right? And we're providing a lot of high-level detail outside of what you can expect from the podcast here.
True indeed. Listen, we're a show, we're a community, and guess what? We're here to serve. So I'm really excited to get into everything. And once we get into everything, I guarantee you guys, you will not skip this video.
Absolutely. So with no further ado, let's get into the VA benefits segment for today. So now for the first topic, we want to talk about different executive orders and changes going on here in the VA. Okay, so now there was a new executive order passed in May of 2025 that's going to really impact how veterans receive their services for VA medical care, for housing, and other low income or homeless veteran assistance program. Now, something that they're looking to pilot is the National Center for Warrior Independence. And, I know Kenneth here as an expert has definitely been looking into a lot of that. And, what are some of the things that your initial thoughts kind of bring to you here regarding that?
Honestly, my initial thoughts is generally with the wide scope, it is a fantastic idea, right? But also I think it's a fantastic idea in theory when we talk about these things, because the veteran community does need the help, right? When we're talking about this first executive order, we're talking about removing homelessness from veterans. Essentially, that's a pretty big wide net to be able to fill. So all in all, listen, when we're talking about the full scope of the executive order, I'm excited about it, but also I am worried on the rollout.
Absolutely. Because, that's what's going to be important, right? Because you look at policy and, we understand policy to some degree here, and we understand why they're doing this program, right? The benefits and services that veterans currently receive, they're scattered, right? And we want to be able to make improvements. So, regardless of kind of just criticizing the president or saying one thing or another, we definitely appreciate making strides and serving the veteran community. However, we just all have to work together on how this is going to be implemented and exactly what is going to cause the best impact for the veteran community.
Yeah, no, true indeed. Ultimately, the desire is always to be able to help those in need, right? With, again, any of these executive orders or policies that is to serve sometimes an underserved community and also sometimes to serve, big business. Or, to serve those at large who are a little bit more well-endowed. So at the end of the day, our opinion here on the Prepare to Compete show here, we want to make sure that everyone understands that we're focused on the change, right? We're focused on the change when we're discovering a lot of this information because it is new. And we want to make sure that we deliver it to you guys first.
Absolutely want to deliver it to you first. And, with this act here, they're looking to kind of pilot the program at the VA hospital in West Los Angeles campus. And what they're looking to do is basically combine services, right? Again, as I mentioned, things are scattered and they want veterans to be able to go receive health care. And if they have other needs or identify as being homeless or certain things, they're able to really get that access and support while they're there and as it's been identified. And that is a very ambitious goal. But, Kenneth, I guess you could kind of see some apprehensions on why that may be difficult, right? It's going to cause a lot of different agencies to really communicate together, or really are they going to come together and actually each individual agency as far as the healthcare, housing, other services as far as behavioral health, mental health, and different things under one roof and have representatives all there within that center? Are they looking to cross-train, right? We don't really know the answers to those things. And I think that is what really kind of makes us apprehensive on how this is actually going to work for the veterans looking to utilize assistance in these programs.
Yeah, no, true indeed. When we talk about this, again, we're talking about the executive order of the National Center for Warrior Independence, right? Basically, again, that's going to be a full service on-ramp for homeless veterans to be able to receive housing, treatment, rapid connection to benefits, and so on and so forth. But when we talk about this, there's so many different agencies that's involved. Not only so many different agencies, there's so much red tape that's involved as well, rules, regulations, and not only that, there are focal issues that are specifically ingrained in these agencies that needs to be addressed. Now, when again these issues that are being addressed, I think the biggest thing is who's going to address them, and how are we going to get this rolled out the quickest way possible. And I think specifically, there's so many different components when we're navigating that. I don't think we have the answers, and I don't frankly think they have the answers. But I'll tell you this. One thing is that when you are dealing with homeless veterans, knowing the impact that VASH HUD has provided, SFVF, US Vets, there's so many other different nonprofit agencies as well that I may have not named. It's so impactful. And to be able to run self-sufficiently is one thing. Now, and what I mean by self-sufficiently, many of these organizations are nonprofits or NGOs or anything of that nature, and they do receive funding. However, to be able to be self-sufficient in agency, again, the agency running and helping the veterans that need, that's impactful. That's the answer. But now, when we bring in everybody together and bring in all these agencies and treatment facilities and also benefits together, what does that look like? What does that look like for the veteran? What does that look like for the agency? What does that look like for even, again, funding? That's a big question that we have. Big questions I think we all have to answer. So,
no, absolutely right, because we're in a climate right now where there's been a lot of government layoffs and there's been a lot of issues with spending and where funding needs to go, and kind of a lot of downsizing of essential resources, within the VA, within other agencies. So this is, again, a very ambitious goal and program under this type of climate. But I would say it's definitely well deserved for veterans and well needed, because we want to make sure that every veteran has a home, right? And that is first and foremost there. So any goal that can potentially get us closer to that is one to pursue, but we definitely want to make sure that the agencies are working together. I know you mentioned HUD-VASH there. And, that's a wonderful program where I believe veterans are able to get housing vouchers.
Yes. So Homeless veterans, right? And what do we qualify as homeless? It could be very subjective when we talk about that. But generally speaking, not having sufficient shelter, right? Not having sufficient shelter. So with that, the HUD-VASH program or the VASH-HUD program, whichever intertwines, right? That program there, what it does, it actually provides vouchers for homeless veterans to be able to get the needs of housing. Okay. Providing case management. They'll be able to provide a case manager, kind of go down the pathway to get the voucher and also get the shelter that they need. This is a phenomenal program, but let's understand it is a HUD-based program. Now, with it intertwined with the VA, which is phenomenal. Again, I must tip my hat to this program. But we also deal with the challenges of long wait lists, qualification issues, case management, contact. It's so many different focus issues that they deal with. How can we be able to kind of unravel that, but also, connect everything together with other organizations and serve at the same time? So, but yeah, I mean, the HUD-VASH program is phenomenal. They've been attacking the VA's ambitious goal, since the strategic plan has come out since 2022, to be able to focus, on ending homelessness for veterans. So again, they have to have a big audacious goal, but how do we get there?
How do we get there is very important. And, what I find interesting about it as well is with the collaboration, hopefully this would cause some additional collaboration with looking at the VA benefits as far as the monthly compensation and how that intertwines with a HUD-VASH program. Because, one of the barriers that I always hear from the veteran community and those who work in the HUD-VASH sector is that a lot of these veterans don't want to apply for service connection in fear that they could potentially lose their actual housing voucher because now they're receiving too much income and there's income requirements there, right? So hopefully with combining these different sectors, a lot more of the nuances of these different conversations start to happen more often and we develop some solutions for it, right? Because we don't want veterans apprehensive on getting care and getting the benefits that they deserve, especially the disability benefits they deserve, which are permanent entitlements and benefits for them, just because in fear of, hey, I received that benefit, I still will be in need, but now I don't have housing. And if it's coordinated in a way where, hey, well, no, this is the requirement. These are the thresholds and it's worked together with a lot more. We could kind of combat some of those issues because HUD-VASH isn't a program where you want the veteran to be on that program permanently, right? And obviously, if they qualify for service-connected benefits, that is intended to be a permanent status there, especially if they're able to get 100% permanent in total. So, we really want to kind of be able to have more of those conversations and have the different agencies that are working together understand and kind of unpack the issues there.
No, true indeed. Again, and that's what we talk about, right? Because those thresholds need to be modified. Communications needs to be modified. The service needs to be modified. And also the rollout should be generated and created, to be able to, make awareness. So it is a lot of different things that you have to go down and to create change. Do I think it's ambitious and fantastic? I think it's a lovely tagline. Now, let's fast forward 5 years from now to get this going. So really excited for what's to come. But again, when we talk about all the agencies and benefits that are afforded, I truly think if a veteran survives any type of injuries, combat, or have made that sacrifice, again, if that has been had, we can't have bureaucracy fail them. And that's just kind of the real notion behind that.
No, absolutely. So now we obviously know this is going to be a center. So again, it's probably looked at as a pilot project, potentially going to be nationwide at some point once they get the nuances together there. But ultimately, something that I've kind of read from it is that they're going to hopefully have case managers, right, who are going to be able to facilitate all of the different services that particular veteran may need. So, with that, again, I hope a lot more of those conversations and that collaboration is going to happen where now this veteran actually has an advocate that's going to be able to help and assist facilitating all of the various needs that they potentially could have in the services and really providing that educational component of understanding the access and that. So again, it's a very exciting conversation to have. Again, like you said, it's a big audacious goal, but I feel like we have a lot of competent professionals working in those agencies that are well prepared for the task there.
No, I totally agree. I think, that we have competent professionals who's definitely going to figure these things out. Really excited to actually see what the outcome is. But I will tell you, if you are at any imminent risk at being unsheltered or homeless, please make sure that you reach out to the National Veteran Homeless Hotline at 877-424-3838. Please do not wait. Reach out. And if you are in need immediately, please make sure it is discussed and make sure the circumstances is fully provided to them because they're there to help. They are there to help. So make sure that you reach out to them. Again, that's 877-424-3838.
Absolutely. So the next topic we actually are going to flow into here is talking about community care, right? So we want to make sure the veterans are cared for and have the information there. And now we actually have a whole video regarding the topic of the community care changes in 2025. So you can absolutely go on YouTube and receive that full content there and, learn everything there is to know about those changes. But, Kenneth, today I wanted you to kind of let them know just kind of high level of what's going on with the changes here in 2025.
Yeah, I'm just going to be very direct and frank. Listen, veterans, 2025, huge changes have come through the pipeline. Community care authorizations is now granted for an entire year. Before any type of medical care that was ever needed, listen, it was always a 90-day turnaround where you needed to go ahead and get reauthorization and so on and so forth from your VA medical center. But that is no longer the case. Now you're able to receive authorization for an entire year for your private a provider outside of the VA for any type of specialty needs, or even sometimes primary care for any type of wait times, mental health issues, and like I said before, specialized care. Okay. For more information on that, you definitely can check out our community care video. It is posted. Please watch it all the way through because it is very insightful. We got some good information at the end of that video. But veterans, again, you are authorized to be able to receive a private care provider, and not only a private care provider, but a specialist outside of the VA if granted community care for 1 year.
Absolutely. And again, they have to be granted. So it's still an application process. And then I noticed on there, and they get all this in the video, that if they already have community care, they still need to make sure if that authorization is going to be for a year. So always talk to the local facility.
Yes, please always talk to your local facility. You do not want to get a bill from that provider stating that you are, in owing those monies. So even if you do, take it to the VA, see what they can be able to provide you. If they can provide you any support, go get the support. All right. But if you are already in concert with community care and receiving that care, and you need to basically reauthorize, don't continue to see the provider. Wait until you're receiving your authorization. Wait until you receive a authorization to continue. Okay, it's very important.
Absolutely. So, and then with a question for that, just kind of at a high level. Now, what are some ways that veterans could actually avoid being denied community care?
Avoidance and being denied community care. To be very honest, it is very rare and for denial. It's just the knowing, all right, the information, and also making the ask. Most veterans do not make the ask. They go ahead and continue with the wait time, or they go ahead and make the drive 60, 50, 100 miles from their home of residence to go see their physician. That's not needed. You can be authorized to see someone locally in town, okay? If there isn't a VA facility near you. If you are feeling unsafe with the treatment, you can be authorized for community care. If the VA has long wait times, you can be authorized in community care. And those all details are in our previous video that was provided. So,
absolutely. Yeah, you make some good points there, right? So a lot of our veterans in rural areas, they have to travel quite a ways sometimes. You know, I know veterans that live in certain parts of Texas where they may be, 100 miles away from San Antonio and they have to get some care and they're going out there. Well, if they had a community care program, they'll be able to use their local provider that they frankly may even know, because in a small town, oftentimes you kind of get to know a lot of your neighbors and the individuals in your town. So yeah, they would want to do that. And, sometimes we forget about how important that could be because, if you are in San Diego and you don't like a particular VA facility, well, there's multiple and you're already within that network and you can go pick another physician and it's very streamlined for you. So just imagine how some veterans don't really have that same level of access, where if they wanted to go to someone else as far as another VA location, it's the difference of going 60 miles south or 60 miles north, right?
Yeah. And that's just the reality of things. Everyone is not provided the same resources that we may think, So again, using the example of the rural area, but also safety of care, right? Bedside manner. Understanding those specialty issues that you're dealing with. If you don't feel like you're receiving proper care, it is your right to be able to get the proper care that you need. Understand that it is your right to receive safe medical care. All right?
Absolutely. And that's a good point, because I actually recently had a veteran and we're talking about it, and lives in a rural area and he cannot afford to go to private medical. And he's like, well, I don't like my VA doctor. I'm not receiving the quality care that I feel like I deserve. I have, X, Y, and Z ailments going on, and they're not receiving that care from this provider. And he's reluctant to try to go to the private provider because he feels like, hey, I don't want to receive that bill. And through community care, you don't have to worry about that. But even though this program exists, just sometimes veterans' belief in the system and that it's going to work on their behalf, they're still apprehensive. But we definitely want to encourage them that, hey, this is an option and you at least want to definitely apply. Obviously, if you could have planned ahead of time and not go in an urgent care type of setting, now you increase your chances and you know exactly that you have that authorization and approval. Kenneth, so this segment, we've been talking a lot regarding the care for veterans, and we really want to make sure our veterans are cared for in all of their conditions. And there has been some new policies throughout the last several years regarding the PACT Act, right? And how veterans could actually, qualify to have certain presumptive conditions. So can you kind of explain a little bit more to how the PACT Act works for our veterans are looking to get service connected there?
Yeah. So the PACT Act is such a huge, wide range of benefits for presumptive issues, right? So what do we mean by presumptive? I know the PACT Act, that's been one big trigger word, right? Hot button word that goes out there. PACT Act, PACT Act, PACT Act. But what is the exact PACT Act? So again, legislation was passed to be able to expand the location areas for veterans in regards to receive, presumptive issues or presumptive diagnosis for service connection without a medical opinion. Because again, what was understood was that you were in the place and time, and now you have a diagnosis. So if you were in a specific location and at a specific time, and you have a specific diagnosis, well, the scientific research has been done. You are 9 times out of 10 dealing with that diagnosis because you were in this area and you was exposed to chemicals, toxins, environmental issues or pollutants, so many different things, right? There's so many different things ongoing. But with that being said, when we talk about the PACT Act, one big reminder, a huge reminder to understand is that no medical opinion, or again, another trigger word, hot topic, nexus letter, is going to be needed, right? It's specific. It's very specific in nature of what a presumptive issue is. Okay. So again, the PACT Act was such a huge legislation. Okay. This was a big overhaul for a lot of veterans and actually opened up the doors for a lot of veterans to receive, millions of veterans to receive medical care. Okay. I don't want to bypass that. That was a very, very big deal for millions of veterans to now have access to medical care who was previously denied. Right, veterans, we didn't know veterans can get denied medical care from the Veterans Administration Medical Center, did we? Well, guess what? That happens all the time. Okay, there are certain thresholds that you must meet to be able to receive medical care. But now that is open many of doors for millions. So with that being said, I want you guys to understand that the PACT Act was a very, very huge legislation that was passed. Please go ahead and again, check out our previous video that outlines each detail of the PACT Act, okay? But again, it's serving Gulf War veterans, Vietnam veterans, our veterans in current state today. It is a huge legislation that was passed, and I really would love to speak with anyone that really wants to talk about the PACT Act, because if you have been exposed in those specific locations and now dealing with a specific medical ailment, you may be losing out on receiving service connection.
Absolutely. And now what we want to be able to talk about here as well with the PACT Act and essentially getting service connected is that now talking about what service connected percentage do you need to have to receive that medical care that you were talking about there?
Well, there's not even a percentage tied to it, right? You can receive medical care even if you're not service connected. But now there's thresholds, right? What is the threshold of income? What is the threshold of your duty and service, right? There's rules and thresholds. However, what you're referencing, I believe, is that you can receive medical care at 0%. You don't need a compensable decision or ailment to receive medical care. Your care is your right. Right? So that 0% grants you that benefit. Go receive your care.
Absolutely. And why that's very important is that although you may have served at a particular time and location and you get service connected for a PACT Act related condition, it may be at a threshold of 0%, right? Yeah. And that same veteran may have been denied medical care before. However, now that you have that 0%, you may have a few different avenues of reapplying for care. One, because you're 0% now, and two is because they opened up who qualifies for healthcare.
True indeed. True indeed. I totally, again, I have nothing to say. I totally agree with you. You need to go really evaluate at that 0% level so you can be able to get your health care. If you don't, well, you're probably paying for medical care that you don't need. And they're also 9 times out of 10 are listed in a community care network. And now that medical care, you can be saving yourself thousands of dollars over the time. But that's just, again, and that's not coming from me. I'm not telling you to drop Blue Cross Blue Shield, please no. I'm just letting you guys know you really need to really evaluate your healthcare and also medical needs and what's afforded to you.
Absolutely. And now I want to be able to ask you a couple more questions for veterans who may be watching that, again, may have that 0% rating or may have a 10 or 20% rating from a PACT Act condition, and they are receiving care for that particular condition at the VA. Okay. And now they have been told that they're not able to receive care for other conditions that they're dealing with. Can you kind of confirm that different nuance? Because I have heard veterans encounter that type of situation there.
That's a great question. What I will tell you is this, is that every circumstance and situation is different. Obviously, we would really, really have to unpack that. But in general terms and speaking, being turned down for medical care in any hospital or facility, I think is a big no-no, right? So I won't specifically be able to speak upon that, but what I will say is this, is that if you are receiving medical care from a VAMC or medical clinic or satellite station, you should be able to receive care. Okay, even if you're enrolled and you have 0%, you should be able to receive care. Not that saying that you're going to receive free care based upon a service-connected condition, but you should be able to deemably receive care.
Understood there. Yeah, and something that you kind of pointed out there indirectly is that a lot of times they may be going to a VA facility or they may be receiving specialty care, and they're asking that particular professional certain details about other conditions, and that becomes a nuanced conversation there where they may not just have the information, or they may just be saying that, hey, I cannot provide you with that care. So that's why you really want to kind of look into and really reach out to be able to really understand what's going on there, and never accept the first no, right?
Yeah, never accept the first no. What I would tell you is I also will make sure that though you are accepting the first no, that you're doing everything to get a yes. All right. So please reach out if you need any assistance. We're here to serve. We're here to help. If you just need some questions answered, we would love to be able to speak with you.
Absolutely. Reach down in the comments. Absolutely ask any questions. We love communicating here with you digitally. And, for our next topic here, we want to get into what the VA is actually doing in the digital space, right? They're making quite a few power moves in really changing the different healthcare apps, the VA benefits apps, and changing the workflow of how it looks when you're applying for a claim. So you may have been in your va.gov account or similar and down for maintenance, right? Because they're trying to make a lot of those different improvements. So, we definitely want to kind of educate you about some of the things to do there. And they are looking to completely go digital with a lot of things there to assist with not pushing too much paper and not having too much snail mail, because ultimately you want to get the information out to the veteran, right? Whether it's through a text message, through an email, through accessing the portal. it's encouraged to get the information out as soon as possible because time is of the essence. So I know sometimes veterans look at it as like, hey, I'm used to this method, right, of working in information, and systems change, processes are changing, and even with direct deposit, right? If anyone's still receiving a paper check, they're actually looking to have that digital now and go through direct deposit. So, with all of these different changes in the digital space, Kenneth, what type of sentiments or advice you may have for the veterans listening here?
One thing I would tell you, though, again, the digital age is not coming. We're in it, right? We're in it. So this is something that we haven't seen before, right? So kind of going away with a lot of hard copies of everything. Though we're coming away with a lot of hard copies of everything, you guys, you know my motto. Keep your records stored. If it is stored in a hard copy fashion, great. Hold those records. If it is not, understand it can be digitized in safekeeping with yourself as well and make multiple copies. When you got out of service, I can guarantee you, if you were not told to make multiple copies of your DD-214 service medical records, personnel records, so on and so forth, again, we're going to go ahead and make sure that we depend on our federal government to keep safekeeping of this stuff, which is what they're supposed to do. We want you to do that. However, fires happen. Huge fire actually burned and literally destroyed many of these veterans' records. In the digital space, it may not be feasible to destroy, but there are other attacks that could come along and actually destroy your records or cannot be found in safekeeping because it hasn't been stored properly. Right? So what I will say, though we are in the digital age, and I promote it, again, very highly, always make sure you retain your copies yourself.
Absolutely. Definitely do that there. And now, when we're talking about utilizing va.gov, right, we may have some veterans like, I've never accessed that portal, a day in my life. So now how would they go to setting up that account?
It is a process in regards to setting up your va.gov account, but you can be able to set that up through, again, the portals of login.gov and also id.me. Again, that's right there on the VA website. But there is verification methods, right? So make sure you're able to navigate those verification methods and you should be fine.
Okay. And now with those two access points, because I think that's very important to look at there, is there a preference between whether they should set up a id.me account versus a login.gov, or it's just two options for them?
Totally, just multiple options and what you desire. It's not one is better than the other. It is simply getting you access to your needs, But again, totally, it's just totally up to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they both seem to have the same type of security setup, right? Where you're talking about two-factor authentication. Some veterans may not want to do the text methods, but you can still receive a call, right? You can receive a call for that secondary code there and things of that nature. So still a lot of different options to familiarize yourself with when you have that account there, but really works well, as you mentioned there, because you could apply for your whole entire claim process, whether it's establishment of claim, appeals, higher level review. You can do that all through that online portal. And even most importantly, you can track what's going on with your claim through that portal as well, and even receive notifications to your phone or email, which is very, very good with staying abreast of what's going on with your claim status.
True indeed.
All right. Now, as we close out this segment here, Kenneth, with all the changes that are happening in 2025 and the new updates and legislation, what is your piece of advice for veterans here in the fourth quarter of 2025 going into 2026?
Well, as we know, you guys, the VA landscape is changing. The military landscape is changing. As much as we want to think the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Department of Defense, and other federal agencies are all disconnected from one another, they are. However, they are still united in the same service that they're trying to serve the veteran and active duty member. Though that these landscapes are changing, we are not one to waver with it, right? Let's go ahead and remain steadfast in what we do, and not only what we do in our approach on receiving our medical care, our benefits, our education, and also what we have actually served for and earned. So with that being said, remain here at Prepare to Compete, because let me tell you, we're going to be able to provide all those details on be able to navigate with what the VA is going, what the VA is doing, what's going on. Again, there's been a high level of denials as of late. Well, let's talk about why. And when we talk about why, we're going to be able to make sure that you guys understand why, but remain tuned in, because it doesn't only affect just the denials of benefits, but it also affects your family.
Absolutely, Kenneth. Thank you for that. Thank you all for watching. Prepare to Compete. We're out. Peace.